$69,000, a major level on the Bitcoin chart that stems all the way back to 2021's bull market high in November. This is a very key level, and if we can continue to close above it on weekly closes, in my opinion, that is a very, very bullish sign for BTC. I'm also going to be talking about my favorite altcoins in this live stream. This is my list of altcoins. You can see my 6 favorite altcoins alongside the 2 VIP altcoins. If you want access to those gems, make sure to be a member within my Discord community. You can get my real-time buy and sell alerts alongside a load of other benefits if you're in the group. But we're seeing a nice green day today across the board, guys. Bitcoin up 4.8%, Ethereum up about 7%, Solana up 9%. I did a buy alert on Solana just yesterday at $77. It's now sat almost at $85. So things can change very, very quickly, especially when you're at very low prices, because these prices, are very, very cheap. And if you zoom out, you can see just how much we've come down in a short period of time. It was just in January that Solana was trading above $140. We're now in the 80s. So you can see very quick moves up during a bear market. And, there's some truth in the saying that the most impulsive moves are actually in a bear market. The most impulsive moves up are actually in a bear market. The reason for that is because of how much you come down. You also see really nice rallies. And I said before, and I'll say again, altcoin prices were just too cheap to ignore. We saw Solana down at $77 or whatever it went to. At least that's the price I was buying it at. We saw Ethereum sub $2,000. And those are just the 2 biggest altcoins that I look at. Think about some of the small caps and how low they've gone. Think about Sui. Think about Casper. Think about Asta. Loads of these altcoins are at record low prices. The fear and greed went to a record low. And in my opinion, it's just kind of ridiculous to be waiting for lower to buy. Now, yes, prices could indeed go lower, but it's not a given. People are making out like it's a foregone conclusion that you see a $30 Solana and that you see a $800 Ethereum. These things are not foregone conclusions. These are very 50-50 events, maybe not even 50-50. In fact, I would say it's less likely than likely that we see Solana down at $30 or Ethereum at $800. They're certainly possible, but those are the types of prices I'd be expecting during a doomsday event. All right, you would need significant negative catalysts in order to bring altcoins that cheap. You'd probably need World War III, or you'd probably need one of the major tier 1 exchanges to collapse. And let's be honest, the chances of those things are relatively low. Not impossible, but they're definitely relatively low. Therefore, one has to look at these prices that you have on altcoins and think that, yeah, maybe it's time to start buying. And the problem is, there's still an awful lot of people in stablecoins. And I believe 90%, maybe 95% of those sideliners are going to end up being our exit liquidity. At some point, they're going to jump back into the market. And what usually happens with the sideliners is they don't just jump back in on the first rally from the lows. They have to wait and wait and wait until finally it's obvious that we're back into a bull run. And then they end up jumping in at prices way higher than what they would have imagined. The same thing happened in the last bear market on Solana. People were thinking Solana was just going to go to like $1, right? And they were waiting and waiting, and they were not buying it at $7. They weren't buying it at $8. They weren't buying it at $9 or $10. So they were in disbelief this whole period, thinking it's going lower. And it was only once it made its real parabolic move that they finally jumped in and realized, oh, this thing is actually leaving the station now. Now I'm going to jump in. So the problem with being sidelined is you keep waiting for lower prices, and then eventually those prices don't come, and then you're forced to jump back in at much higher prices. And that is what the majority of sideliners do. Now, with myself, I managed to effectively buy back into the market after being sidelined for quite a long time. I was sidelined for quite a few months. You know, I told you guys on the live stream when we were at 126 or 123, I think it was, I said that there's a solid chance that was the Bitcoin top. People called me crazy. It turned out to be completely correct. And then I said, once we lost the 50-week moving average, that we were entering a bear market. Okay. So I did manage to effectively get out and get back in, but the vast majority of people don't do that. They might get out at the right time, but quite often they don't get back in. They don't hit the buy button. Even if they hit the sell button, they don't end up buying low. They wait for the confirmation bias of a pump and then they jump in. So I think it takes a lot of guts to actually be buying right now. Because yes, there is a risk that Bitcoin could come down to $40,000, a level which a lot of people are talking about. And that level coincides with the 786 fib, which is where Bitcoin usually draws down to during a midterm election year. That's the typical bear market, is a 786 hit. In fact, usually it goes a little bit lower than that. So I understand why a lot of people are calling for $40,000. But for me, it's asinine to be waiting for that before buying, because that is not a given. What I believe was a given was that Bitcoin would pull back to the 200-week moving average. That for me had a very high probability. Once you hit that, you've just got to acknowledge to yourself that prices are very cheap. Could it go lower? Yes. But I'm going to be accumulating nonetheless, because these are cheap prices, and in the future, they're going to be much higher. Therefore, I'm not too concerned about the short-term swings. Could an altcoin go down another 20%, another 30%? Absolutely. But was it going to be in a year or two from now? That's the mindset that you need to be in. And that's exactly the mindset that I'm in right now. I'm looking at Solana, $77 yesterday. I purchased a nice chunk of Solana. Obviously, it could go to 40. But to me, 77 is an absolute steal. 40 is even better. But like I said, it is not a given. So we've just got to act upon the cheap prices that we have and always prepare for both sides so that we have got some stable coins on the side if prices do end up going lower. We're going to get into your comments. But before we do, please make sure to hit up all of the likes on the stream. It really helps out a ton with the channel, more than what you'll imagine. And also, definitely check out the link to Blowfin. There is a link down below to the exchange, which I personally use to buy my crypto. I buy on spot on Blowfin, and whenever I do futures trades, I also do those on Blowfin as well. So check it out. There's a link down below. If you sign up using my link and you deposit some USDT, you can potentially win up to $5,000 in trading rewards. So definitely do it, because it's potential free money. Okay, the link's down below to Blowfin. Make sure you use the link down below. Another thing I want to mention, a lot of people have been asking me about cold storage and where I store my crypto. I personally use Tangem to store my crypto. There are other good options out there, such as Trezor, but the problem with Trezor is it doesn't hold all the cryptos that I want. Tangem pretty much holds 99% of the mainstream coins in the market. So if you want to use the best cold storage device, there is a link down below, I believe, to Tangem. And if you use my code Archie at checkout, I think you'll save yourself maybe $5 or $10. I get $5 or $10. Doesn't really make a big difference to me. But I know that when people are starting off, it all helps, right? $5, $10, saving that amount of money. It helps. It gives you a bit of extra cash to deploy in the market. So yeah, we all love a deal. Anyway, let's get into the comments. I can see we've got a donation here from Amber, a longtime viewer of the channel, saying, "Hey Archie, the Canton network has established itself as a leading institutional blockchain supporting over 6 trillion of tokenization. Why are you not bullish on it and not in your altcoin list?" So just because it's not in my altcoin list does not mean that I'm not bullish on it, okay? I want to be very clear about that. There's maybe 50 coins that I'm bullish on, but they can't all make the list. Otherwise, at that point, my portfolio is just unmanageable. I like Canton. The only thing I would say about it is, I just put Canton. Let me spell it right. The only thing I would say about it is the market cap is high. All right, you're talking a 6 billion market cap. Sui is significantly lower than that, and I'm very bullish on Sui. So I'm going to ask myself, what am I going to buy? Am I going to buy Canton at 6 billion or Sui at almost half of that? And then the other thing to mention is the price action is quite high. So I'll give you plaudits. I'll give you credit. If you've held Canton in the last few months, you've done pretty well. You've outperformed pretty much every single altcoin in the crypto market. But I don't want to jump into something that's performed really, really well. I want to jump into something that's been down the gutter. That's what I want to buy. I want to buy something like Sui. I want to buy something like Solana, which has just had a massive move down, okay? Those are the types of coins I want to buy because I know they will at some point have a recovery. Solana is not going to stay down forever. This is a top tier layer one, which is going to make a comeback at some point. So I love Canton. It looks solid, but I'm not going to be jumping into something that's almost at its all-time highs when we've got loads of options out there of altcoins which are down 70 or 90%, which will probably make comebacks, okay? So that's the reason. I'm not buying something at all-time highs when there's loads of altcoins out there that I can buy on 80% discounts. It's not to say it's not a good project. It's just to say I would be putting my priorities elsewhere personally. Smash up the likes, absolutely, Mr. J. How's it going, Ricky? Crypto Cash in the stream. Mike Hughes says he's up 5K on XPL thanks to you. Yeah, XPL's been printing for the VIP members. I might as well just reveal one of these VIP gems because I keep talking about XPL and it's printing. So I might as well reveal which one is XPL. And it is indeed number 7. So Plasma, XPL, and that is indeed a layer 1. Okay. So I've revealed one of them. I'm not going to reveal the other, okay? The other one's actually a lot smaller in market cap. Not a lot smaller in market cap, actually. It's a lot smaller in terms of its recognition. Not a lot of people know number 8. So I'm going to keep that one low key. But number 7 is Plasma XPL, and it has been doing very well for the VIP members and myself, obviously. We bought into this one a week ago, right when we had that massive crash. And it's come up really nicely, actually. It's up about 20% or more since my buy alert on it. This one's listed on Binance and Coinbase. It's backed by Peter Thiel, the main guy behind Palantir. So, yeah, I wouldn't be fading Plasma XPL. This, for me, is a top-tier layer 1 with disastrous price action. That's all I can say. The price action has been disastrous, but reminds me very much of Solana when Solana had disastrous price action. Everyone wrote it off. Everyone said it's a scam. Everyone said it's not going to make you money and the insiders have sold and all of this. I was looking back at Solana. It actually went down almost 98% during the bear market of 2022. That's how low Solana went from the all-time high of 2021 to the low of 2022. You're talking a 98% crash. Plasma's down 94%. So that is in line with something like Solana. In fact, it's better than something like Solana. So just because an altcoin, I want to make myself very clear here, guys. Just because an altcoin is down 90% or 95% in a bear market does not mean it's never going to make a comeback. We've seen a bunch of examples of altcoins that have been down 90 to 98% that have made comebacks. Now, I'll grant you that most of them won't come back, okay? The vast majority of them will not make a comeback. But the high-quality ones, the ones that are well-backed, the ones that have on-chain metrics that back themselves up, those ones will make a comeback. And Plasma very much does have the backers with a high amount of VC investment and with Peter Thiel behind it. And it has the on-chain metrics to back it up. Number 7 chain in terms of DeFi TVL, even higher than Hyperliquid, even higher than Avalanche, even higher than Sui. So I am a big fan of Plasma. I'm not saying go all in. I'm not saying put a huge percentage of your portfolio into it, but the evidence is clear that this is a very undervalued project at a market cap of just 176 million, yet the DeFi TVL is all the way up at 2.7 billion with a B, okay? Great project, lots of potential, and I'm glad you're up on it. What do I think of Pepe? I think it's good. I think it's a top meme coin. Let me know, though, in the chat, guys, what is your favorite meme coin? Because I've been thinking about maybe getting some exposure into the meme coin sector, because right now I have none, unless you include Solana, which I guess is indirectly linked to the meme coin sector. But let me know, which meme coin is your favorite at the moment? Is it Pepe? Is it Fartcoin? Is it Pump Fun? That's a meme coin casino, I guess. Let me know what your favorite meme is, and maybe I'll check it out. ABC says, Archie, you bought the bottom. Congrats. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? Let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. It looks like I may have bought a bottom. Okay, that buy order on Bitcoin at $60,000 was an incredible buy order. And even if we go lower, it was an incredible buy order because we literally bought the bottom of the crash. I placed my buy order just above the 200-week moving average because I knew that some people would start front-running it and they would start buying before we actually got there. So, yeah, very, very bullish on the market in the next few months, but still a little bit cautious, okay? Still a little bit cautious, but I am very bullish. I'll be clear about that. Because prices are just so cheap. Now, that doesn't mean they can't go a little bit lower, but all things considered, there is a solid chance that we could have bought the bottom at $60,000. There is a chance that we did buy the bottom. I mean, that was the level I was always waiting for, was the 200-week moving average. So could we have a very early bottom for the first time? Maybe. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think this recent dump on Bitcoin resembles the COVID crash more or 2022? Because I think there's similarities to both. If I had to lean slightly in one direction, I'd say it's more like 2022. But it's not exactly like 2022. The velocity has been a lot quicker. The time it's took Bitcoin to go from the 50-week moving average down to the 200-week moving average has been the quickest ever, I think, in a post-halving year. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100%. But going off my memory, I think it's been the quickest move down from the 200-week down to the, from the 50-week down to the 200-week. Now, we didn't exactly hit it, but I count it as a hit because it was basically a hair away. And I'm sure on some exchanges, we did indeed hit it. So I personally do count this as a hit on the 200-week moving average. So this is one of the quickest moves I've seen from the 50 to the 200. And I find that quite interesting. It just shows how quick the velocity of the move has been. But what it also shows is that the gap between the 200 and the 50 is also not as big as what it used to be because we didn't have as parabolic of a bull run. Therefore, the moving averages were a lot closer together for the majority of this cycle than what they usually are because the bull run wasn't so parabolic, right? If we had a major parabolic top here, the 200-week moving average would have been really far away. It would have been a long, long move down. Obviously, we wouldn't have had a parabolic top up to 300K, so let's be a little bit more conservative. But a lot of people, not myself, I was always saying 117 to 125, 117 to 130. That was always the range I was giving you guys. But there were some YouTubers out there, mostly clueless YouTubers, who were calling for a 200K Bitcoin top, right? A lot of low IQ YouTubers calling for a 200K Bitcoin top in October or November. Let's just say that happened. The move down then to the 200-week moving average would have been a lot slower, right? But because we never had that parabolic move, the 200-week moving average is not that far away. Thoughts on Casper? Honestly, pretty bullish. I'm liking the chart. I'm liking the chart a lot. If we look at Casper here, this is the weekly chart. Let me just pull up the weekly. This is the weekly chart on Casper. It is in a massive falling wedge. One of the most beautiful wedges I've seen in a long time. You've got so many hit points on this, especially if you count these ones here as well. So, yeah, Casper, he zooms up a bit. There we go. That makes it look even better. Look how many hit points you've got here on this falling wedge, on this support line. Loads of hit points. We respected it as well during that crash. We did wick below it, but look where we managed to close, right on that major support line. Same when you look at the resistance here, massive resistance. And this basically makes me believe that whenever we do get a legitimate breakout above this wedge, Casper is going to absolutely explode. You guys know I'm bullish on Casper. It's been one of my favorite layer ones for years now. I was selling Casper up at 16 cents. Do you guys remember that? I was selling Casper at 16 cents or 17 cents, whatever it was. People were calling me crazy. People were saying I'm an idiot. People were roasting me on X. You know, that move worked out pretty well, I'll say that. I bought Casper at 3 cents, rode it up to 16, started selling, and now I'm buying back in at 3 cents again. And I even got some below 3 cents on this crash. So I basically bought Casper at 3 cents, rode it up 4, 5, 6x, whatever it was, 7x, took profits, and now I'm buying back in again with all those profits. And now I can buy even more Casper because I sold it to buy it lower. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that everyone can execute that move correctly because most people will not execute a move to that level. Most will actually sell and end up buying higher. But when you've got years of experience in the market, you know how to read a chart, you know how to read sentiment, you can pull off those types of moves with cryptos. You can sell it at a 6x and then buy it back in at your entry, which is an incredible thing if you think about it. But yeah, very bullish on Casper. Like in the chart here, this wedge pattern it's in. Whenever we get a breakout, I'm expecting it to absolutely send it. Christopher, how's it going? One of the best YouTubers out there. Appreciate that. K Hendo, appreciate that. Kevin says, yes, boss. Caesar gets crypto. What about him? Kevin says, guys, join Archie's VIP. Best around for sure. I do appreciate that, Kevin. And you're absolutely right. We have voice chats in there every single day. I was in the voice chat just earlier talking about the market, talking about certain altcoins that maybe we will be buying. We're also discussing staking because we built up a nice position in Solana and you can get some real good passive income, I guess, staking Solana. I think you can get up to 6% ROI every year, or APR, whatever you call it, every year on your Solana tokens. And that's in a legitimate decentralized staking pool, not on some shady exchange. We were discussing that. We were also discussing potential altcoins to be buying, meme coins that could do well. It was a very in-depth discussion, and we have these pretty much every day. So, yeah, appreciate the kind words about the VIP, Kevin, and I'm glad you agree with me that it's the best group out there. Yeah, CPI came out. It did. And it came out better than expected, which means lower than expected. So CPI year over year came in at 2.4% compared to the forecasted 2.5%. CPI month over month came in at 0.2 compared to the forecasted 0.3. So inflation is cooling down, despite many people saying it's not, and many people saying that inflation is still super high. That's not true. If you look at the data, it's saying that it's going lower. If you look at Trueflation, it's saying that it's going lower. Yes, some areas of the market are still very inflated. Don't get me wrong, but broadly, I do think prices are slowing down a bit. And I was listening to Cathie Wood. You know, I don't normally listen to Cathie Wood when it comes to price predictions. I'll give her that. I don't think she's very good with price targets. But one thing I do listen to her about is the broader market and some of her investments and stuff like that. And she was saying that, you know, PepsiCo, the company, have been lowering the prices for some of their snacks, which to me signals that, yeah, maybe people are tapped out in terms of pricing, right? And we are starting to finally see inflation drop down because, look, people just couldn't afford a lot of groceries, a lot of normal things. And, if no one can afford them, then these big companies essentially will have to drop their prices at some point so that people can afford them. So, yeah, trueflation's incredibly low. CPI is dropping. And the labor market's relatively strong. So you're in a situation where the labor market isn't weakening as much as people expected. Inflation is starting to drop, which essentially means you've got a relatively good economic backdrop, a relatively good economy. But we know that is not how the Fed qualify rate cuts. They don't cut just because the economy is good and because inflation's low. The Fed tend to only cut during weakness. So that's not how the Fed think. Everyone's saying, oh, look how low inflation is. That must mean the Fed's going to cut. No, it doesn't. Just because inflation's low doesn't mean they have to cut. They'll only cut if there's a strong risk to the labor market. And right now, if you look at the labor market, it's not capitulating like a lot of people said it would. So the Fed are only going to pivot. They're only going to cut when the labor market actually starts strongly weakening. And right now, there's no evidence that that's happening to a serious degree. There was some scares about the labor market, but it hasn't gone to shit like a lot of people thought it would. So, yeah, I'm not expecting a rate cut anytime soon, mainly because the economy is actually relatively good right now. And, we're not seeing deterioration of the labor market just yet. Though there were definitely scares, it hasn't come into fruition just yet. Is crypto dying? No, it's not. This is just a very normal style bear market where prices are low, everyone's scared, and this is where the millionaires are made, the people who are buying these types of prices. I mean, I was looking at AVAX earlier. It's a 16x on your money just for AVAX to go to all-time highs. Now, I don't own any AVAX, but when you look at stuff like that, does that not just make you bullish? The fact that some of these big layer ones are 10x's, 20x's off all-time highs, it makes me incredibly bullish. Because I know a lot of them will go back to new highs whenever we get this mainstream bull run again, right? Whenever everyone jumps back into crypto, which I believe will happen at some point. Just 2025 was not the year for mainstream adoption. And, not going to get into all the reasons for that in this live stream, but there's a plethora of reasons as to why we never had the parabolic bull run in 2025. One of the main reasons for me was because of how much the metals overshadowed Bitcoin, how well gold did. And we know the inverse relationship between those two big assets. Yeah, exactly, Apex. Crypto is not dying, otherwise Archie would not be buying. Exactly. Yeah, if crypto was dying, guys, I wouldn't be doing crypto on my channel. I'll make that very clear. I would be pivoting over to something else, such as the stock market. I'm also a property investor. I own a few properties in the UAE. So, yeah, if crypto was dead, I would probably just pivot to something else because I'm a good investor in general. I'm good with crypto. I've got a decent track record with stocks. So if this market was to die out, I would just pivot to something else. So, yeah, I don't think crypto is dying. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, coming on this stream every day speaking about the market because I'd look like a real fool if crypto completely died out, right? And I was super bullish. What's my take on Injective? I think it's okay, but there's better layer ones out there. If big banks like Citi, Visa, and Goldman Sachs are buying and Archie's buying, why aren't we buying? Follow the money, boys. Yeah, good point. Good point. The market cap on gold is 38 trillion and silver alone is 4.5 trillion. That's 42 trillion in those two metals. That is our problem. Yeah, well said, Christopher. I'm not going to get into the whole metals thing on this stream, but I definitely believe that the metals sucked a lot of the liquidity out of the crypto market, right? A lot of people who were potentially going to buy Bitcoin for a safety hedge, they actually went into gold. And people expected gold investors to come into Bitcoin, and that didn't work. If anything, It was actually the other way around. It was crypto investors going into metals. So a lot of the traders as well, right? A lot of people were getting wrecked trading crypto. They moved over to the metals to trade the metals instead because at least they were doing quite well. GTO says 50% Bitcoin, 12% Fartcoin, 12% Hype, 12% Tau, and 12% XBL. What are your thoughts on this portfolio? I think that's a very good portfolio. I wouldn't go as heavy into Fartcoin as you did. I would definitely get a position in Solana as well. Maybe you could take a tiny bit off your Fartcoin, maybe a little bit off your Bitcoin, even though I'm not going to recommend anyone sells Bitcoin. I want to be clear. That's blasphemy in crypto, to suggest that someone should sell their Bitcoin. That is a punishable offense in this market. But yeah, I would definitely get a Solana position, and I think you're a little bit overweight Fartcoin, if I was being honest. But GTO, you are on the bundle, my friend. One of the perks of being on the big bundle is you can get on a call with myself and discuss your portfolio. So definitely utilize that. I'm extremely busy at the moment with bundle members. I'm getting about 4 calls a day. People wanting to basically recreate a new portfolio because my members were in stable coins for the last few months, and now they're buying back into the market. They're looking to actually build a new portfolio, or some people are looking to rebuild a portfolio. So a lot of people are using those one-to-one call perks, on the bundle. So definitely use it, GTO. I know you're a member on the bundle yourself. Let's get on a call and let's discuss your portfolio in a little bit more depth, my friend. Mad Greek, how's it going? Says, message to all the normies, don't overcomplicate things and just listen to Archie in the bear market and he will lead you to Valhalla. I appreciate that, Mad Greek. Appreciate that a lot. It's good to see you on the stream. More pain soon? It's possible. It's possible. We already read that super chat. Bren is very bullish on Canton. Thank you for all the likes and questions. Yeah, 100%. I don't see any positive news coming soon, so I believe more pain till Powell is out. Look, guys, this is the wrong way to view the markets, basing the bottom off news. Like, you just got to look at the levels on the charts. People get so caught up, focusing on the news, overthinking it, overanalyzing it. I was having a discussion with a member on the VIP earlier today in the Discord voice chat, and I was saying to him, look, there's not always a reason for everything. He was trying to overthink things and why now isn't a good time to buy potentially and things like that. I'm not going to name him, but I was saying, don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. People who overanalyze things end up missing the bottoms because they're always thinking of the worst possible case scenario, and they're always thinking that, I don't see why we bottom now. There's no positive news. Well, obviously, if it was obvious that we were going to bottom, we'd already be high, right? Like, obviously, there's no positive news right now. That's why prices are low. Once there is positive news, we've probably already started to rally because the smart money's already began accumulating. So obviously, prices are cheap because there's no positive news. If you're going to wait for positive news to come out, you're probably going to be buying higher. Do people not understand that? If you go back to 2022, the negative news was all happening around FTX. It took until the ETF news for Bitcoin. It took until the ETF news for people to say, oh, yeah, there's positive news. Okay, now I'm going to buy. By that point, you're already way higher in price. I don't know the exact price the news about ETFs came out. But maybe let me know in the chat, guys. Someone in the stream probably knows, right? But the ETF news came out when Bitcoin was way higher than its low. Not like 50K or anything like that, but it was definitely higher than 15K. So If you're just going to wait for positive news to come out, you're probably going to be buying. In fact, you're definitely going to be buying much higher if you're waiting for positive news. Because by the time the positive news is out, one, the smart money's already accumulated, and two, we're already significantly higher. It's always doom and gloom at the bottom. When you're at a bottom, it always feels like crypto is dead and that it's never coming back. But that's the freaking time to buy, is when it feels like that, not when it feels positive. So people who are waiting for positive catalysts to buy, I'm sorry, but you're going to be pumping my bags. You know, I'm happy with that. Please do. I don't have a problem. In fact, I'd like people to pump my backs, but you know, I do my best sometimes to help you guys out, but some of you choose not to listen. So, you know, you do you. Hi, Archie. If you were to start from scratch investing in crypto, what would you focus on? Thanks. Your VIP group is a game changer. Well, I'm glad you like the VIP group. If you were going to start from scratch, I'd probably just, first of all, buy Bitcoin. That's always the first crypto you should buy. Then get a nice bag of Solana, and then maybe just go equally into these other altcoins. And that way you've got a very well-balanced portfolio. But yeah, I would pretty much just replicate the kind of coins I've got on the screen here. Archie, my boy, is bullish. Yeah, I'm definitely bullish. I'm macro bullish for the first time of the whole year, and I have been since we went down to the, or a hair away from the 200-week moving average. I always have to explain a hair away from it, because I'll say we hit the 200-week moving average, and there'll be that one nerd in the chat saying, "No, we didn't. We actually were $1,000 away from it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, man! We basically hit the 200-week moving average." Okay. We basically hit it. So since we hit it, I'm macro bullish. Got to be honest. Could we go lower? Yes, I've said that many times. I'm a broken record saying that, but I am now officially bullish, and I believe this is a market to go buying. It was not a market to go buying at 90K. It was not a market to go buying at 80K or even 70K. I told you guys on this channel that I believe we would lose 74K, whilst other influencers were calling a bottom there. But I do believe it is buy time when you're around the 60s. And I've been buying very heavily whenever Bitcoin's in the 60s or the high 50s. Avantis no longer bullish. I'm bullish on Avantis, just I don't hold it. But maybe I will at some point. Archie buying bottoms. Yep, that's what we do, my friend. Ambar says, with the 200 INR, says, "My best decision has been to join your VIP 6 months back. It's the most active community, and Archie, you are the best and unbiased. With only a focus on money, no BS." Wow, appreciate that. Really do. And, you know, I tried to be as unbiased as possible, look at things black and white, take the emotion aside. And, yeah, I do appreciate those remarks. Global investors bullish on Dogecoin for a meme coin. Ethereum needs to redeem itself. I think it will. You know, the thing about Ethereum and Solana, they both kind of have a similar looking chart of a double top from the 2021 high. So you got a clear double top on that Ethereum chart. So we've got the first high, and then we have the second high there. Clear double top, rejection at the 2021 levels. And if you go and look at Solana looks the same in that regard. Clear rejection, not once, not twice, but 3 times at that major 2021 all-time high. So, you know, I am of the belief that they will at some point surpass those previous highs. And I'm of the belief that when they do, it's not just going to be a minor all-time high. It's going to be a very parabolic price discovery mode type of all-time high where they just keep on pushing up. So I'm personally very bullish on Solana and Ethereum for the next couple of years. And that's something that I haven't been able to say for a long time because I've been telling you guys about the risks of altcoins going lower. And I'm finally at the point where I can say that within, a year or two from now, I expect Solana and Ethereum to be much, much higher than where they are currently. That was not the case if you asked me 6 to 12 months ago. Because we didn't know how long it would take them to come down, right? We all thought it would be a bear market this year, but we didn't know how fast the velocity of it would be. And it's been a very quick move down. The YouTube expert says the COVID crash brought us down to the 300-week SMA. 2022 went past the 300-week SMA. Very possible that we go there. But the thing is, you shouldn't just be all in stables hoping for that, because that might not happen. And that way you get left behind. Yeah, there's a lot of people calling for 40K. I agree with you, Philip. It's almost like how many people are calling for 10K back in 2022. So I am noticing this trend of people calling for 40K. Like, it's like the consensus viewpoint at this point that we're going to 40K. And I think it's become so popular that maybe the $40,000 calls are very similar to the $10,000 calls of 2022. Liberty or Death with a very good question says, are you seeing any new or revolutionary tech in crypto recently? We typically don't see or hear about any new tech during times of high fear. I think ProveX is one, as it's a peer-to-peer exchange for all crypto with no middlemen. Yeah, that's an interesting point, right? Like the revolutionary tech in crypto, we haven't really seen a lot of that in a long time. I'd say the closest thing we've had to new tech, besides what you're mentioning, which I need to look into a bit more, maybe would be the perp dexes, but like that's not something to get super excited about. It's not like this crazy new revolution, perpetual dexes. But I do think those are one of the newer narratives, which could definitely amount to something whenever altcoins do well again. And we saw at the very tail end of last bull run how well the perp dex narrative could do. We saw Avantis pull a 10x in 10 days. I would argue that's one of the best calls of the cycle, and it was made by me. And obviously, people made quicker gains on meme coins, on Pump Fund and stuff like that. But the difference was Avantis was a top-tier, well-backed crypto that pulled a 10x in 10 days. We're not talking a shitcoin on Pump Fund. We're talking a coin which is on Binance and Coinbase. So to pull a 10x on a Binance and Coinbase coin in 10 days is an incredible achievement. So we saw Avantis do that crazy run, which we made a ton of money on. That call alone made people retire, paid people's mortgages off. Insane call. You saw Asta pump a ton, which I'll admit I missed that one. Be honest about that. And Hyperliquid did quite well throughout the bull run. So I think that perp dex narrative is definitely going to come back around, and that's a narrative I am very bullish on. But I wouldn't go as far to say that it's revolutionary, right? Like, I think revolutionary is quite a big word. I don't think I've seen anything that's super revolutionary in crypto for a long time. And a lot of these things that people said were revolutionary, they haven't really amounted to anything. The metaverse, tokenization, NFTs, they were all supposed to be revolutionary technologies, and none of them really went mainstream. I hope the Casper team executes their vision. I also think Sui is almost saltier and better at certain things like finality. I prefer Sui for its DeFi over any chain. Sui's DeFi, I guess it's decent, but like, just look at this, right? This is the TVL for all the projects. Sui is 13th. So it's not that high when it comes to actual on-chain activity. I don't know why, bro, but I feel like we'll see a major pump during Q3. because everyone is expecting October to be the Bitcoin bottom. I do think we'll have a very big counter trend rally for sure, probably in Q3. But I don't know. I don't think we'll make a new all-time high this year personally. So maybe in Q3 we could rally up to 90K or 100K. But I don't know if we'll make a new all-time high this year. And if we are going to do it this year, I think it'll be at the very, very end of the year. But most likely I see us making a new all-time high next year. I do see that personally. And I know this sounds crazy. I know it does. So I'm aware of how delusional this might sound. But I actually think Bitcoin could hit 200K next year. And that's the first time I've ever said that Bitcoin could hit 200K. Like, and given a date on it. And it's not a prediction, I want to be clear. But I've never called for 200K. I didn't call for it in 2023, 2024, 2025. But I think there is a solid chance we could see a $200,000 Bitcoin in 2027. Now, it's not a prediction. I want to be clear. But it's a statement that it wouldn't surprise me. That's what I'm going to say. It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked if Bitcoin went to 200K in 2027. So, yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of upside in the next bull run. And a lot of people are saying that, like, oh, this recent bull run was bad, therefore the next bull run is going to be bad. I don't subscribe to that viewpoint at all. I think that's a load of nonsense. I think that's idiocy. Just because this bull run was tamed does not mean the next bull run is going to be very tamed. Okay? That's not how it works. That's not how it works in any market. You don't just continue to diminish forever. Look at how well the tech stocks have done in the last couple of years. They've done better than what they've done in the last decade, probably, right? In the last, like, 2 to 4 years, they've done better than what they've done in ages. So I don't subscribe to this idea that, like, every bull run from now on forever is just going to continue to diminish and going to continue to be weaker and weaker and weaker. I think that's a load of absolute garbage. 100%. That is complete nonsense. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I have heard quite a lot of people say that every bull run's just going to continually get worse. Just complete claptrap. I've never heard so much nonsense in my life. I think next bull run's actually going to be a lot better than this recent bull run that we've experienced. I think Ethereum and Solana are going to massively exceed their all-time highs, and I think Bitcoin is going to get close or even go above $200,000. We diminished in returns so much this bull run that we almost have to exceed the returns next time, in my opinion. Saif Sal says, best group ever. I've joined many groups before, but this is by far the best one. Wow, appreciate that. And guys, I agree. It's the best group. It's the most active. No other group has the daily voice chats, and the buy alerts speak for themselves. You only have to look at the track record. Some of the coins we bought, they speak for themselves. And the sell alerts speak for themselves as well. I was selling altcoins at very high prices. I was selling virtuals at a 5x. I was selling Sui at $5. I was selling Casper at 16 or 15 cents. You know, I was selling Bitcoin well above 110K. I was selling Bitcoin at 117K, actually. So I was taking profits. And that's one of the big appeals to this group, is the fact that I actually take profits. There's an awful lot of YouTubers and groups out there that will take profits, but they won't tell you because it hurts their business model to do that. Because then all of a sudden, people are in stables. What are they going to do? Right? And I lost a lot of business because I went into stables, because people said, okay, I'll just join back whenever you start buying again. It hurt me from a business standpoint to do that. But what's more important to me is to just tell the truth and tell you guys that I am actually selling, and I was going into stables back when we were around 100K or whatever it was. So for me, honesty is the key thing. And that comes over making money, actually. So I know YouTubers myself who didn't sell, or who did sell, and you know, from a business standpoint, they didn't tell anyone because that is something that hurts their business. Because, like I said, What's the point of being in the group if there's no buy alerts? That's the way people see it. So yeah, to me, it's most important to be honest about it. What are my thoughts on HBAR? I like it. But again, you can't hold every single altcoin. So if it goes low enough, then maybe I'll buy it. But at the moment, it's not a part of my portfolio. Are you expecting a relief rally to 74K before we go lower? Well, I do think we'll go to 74, 75K in the coming weeks. But I don't think it's a given. I want to be very clear about this. I don't think it's a given that Bitcoin does end up going significantly lower. What I think is possible and like wouldn't shock me at all is if Bitcoin does maybe try and do like a fake out and make people think we're going a lot lower, but then we only kind of go down to 55 or 56K. That way we go a little bit lower. We get that scam wick. People really hit extreme fear again. They think we're going to zero. And then it's kind of like a scam wick, like what we had during the summer of 2024. And then we just start heading back up again. That way you also create a bullish divergence on the RSI. And, you know, that would be a very bullish thing for the structure for me if we did that. But I don't think it's a guarantee that Bitcoin goes much lower than it has already. I want to be really clear about that. Like, to me, either the bottom's in or it's very close. And I've said that over and over again, day after day after day. Could we go down to 55 or 53K? Absolutely. But what's the real difference between 58 and 55? There's no difference at all to me. So it doesn't make a huge difference, right? So I'll just be crystal clear about it. I think there's like a 70% chance that Bitcoin bottoms somewhere above $50,000. And it's possible the bottom could be in already if you include that. So 70% chance that the bottom is either in or we're close to a bottom, meaning 50K or upwards. And 30% chance for me that the bottom is either not in or not close to being in, meaning we go below 50K. So a sub 50K Bitcoin, I give a 30% chance. A Bitcoin above 50K, I give a bottom above 50K, I give a 70% chance. Now, Polymarket probably disagrees with me, but that's just my honest assessment of it, right? Let me know what you guys think. What odds do you guys give it? Hey, Archie, the Super Bowl has the most viewers in the US. Honestly, I couldn't care less about the Super Bowl. I'm sick of people talking about the Super Bowl. Like I give a flying F about it. I honestly don't care about the Super Bowl. Don't care about the halftime show. Don't care about American football, the helmets that they wear, and all the political stuff, the political ads. It's just way too freaking, like, it's just all these ads, super commercialized. It's just not for me. Maybe it's because I'm British and I like football. I don't know, but it's just not for me. I'll be honest. I couldn't watch a minute of it. It'd probably drive me insane. But yeah, if anyone ever does a bet with me, that's probably going to be my forfeit, is that I have to go all the way to the US and watch the Super Bowl. That's probably going to be the forfeit. So if anyone wants to place a bet with me, that can be my forfeit of the bet if I lose. Is I have to sit and watch through the Super Bowl, the ridiculous halftime show, and whatever the hell the sport is, because I don't even understand it. Why do you even call it football, right? You barely even use your feet and you call it football. So that alone, just at that point, I'm already switching off the fact that it's even called football. We all know what the real football is. Hi, Archie. Do you think Casper can do an 8x from here? I do. I absolutely do. I think they can do an 8x from here. I think it can do more than that in the future. Depends on your time scale. Casper's all-time high is 20 cents. It's currently sat at 3 cents. So what would that be to all-time highs if we work it out? That's like a 6x, 6.5x from here. What would an 8x be? An 8x would be about 25 cents, give or take. So yeah, I think it's very possible Casper could do something like that in the bull run, but obviously take profits before then. Thanks to Archie, I sold when he did, and now I have money to buy back lower. Thanks, Archie. No problem, man. No need to thank me. Archie's Discord is not only active, it has alpha and good people. That combo is hard to find. Recommend the bundle. Thank you, Tim. Are you calling for a bottom to be in or a local bottom? So I'll just clarify again what I've said. I believe there's a 70% chance that the bottom is either in or close to being in. What do I mean by close to being in? I mean $50,000 or higher. 70% chance. I give it a 30% chance that we go below $50,000 this year. So I'm not ruling it out. I'm going to be clear on that. I'm not saying it's a 0% chance or a 1% chance. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying that my base case is that we don't go below 50K. That's my base case. You know, sometimes when you say something like that, it goes in one ear and out the other. People will go back and say, you said we won't go below 50K. I never said that. I said, it's not my base case that we do it, okay? People need to understand the actual words that I use. I'm very careful with the words. Yeah, Liberty, I remember you being on the stream since like day one, probably 2022 days. So I do appreciate, you know, the support for the channel. It does mean a lot, especially from someone who's been watching the channel for years. The Super Bowl sucks. Yeah, man, I couldn't listen to that garbage, man, or watch it. Yeah, the World Cup destroys the Super Bowl. This is the thing, man. Americans, for the most part, are in like a bubble. They think the Super Bowl is bigger than the World Cup. Like, bro, there was literally a football game on that had more views than the Super Bowl, and it was just like a regular game in the Premier League. It was just a regular game in the Premier League, and it had more views than the Super Bowl final, or whatever the hell you call it. So, yeah, a lot of Americans think the Super Bowl is a lot bigger than it actually is. And look, everyone has their traditions. It's fine. I'm not hating on people. But one thing I don't like is when people say, "Oh, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. It's this amazing spectacle." I'm like, "No, just you watch your Super Bowl and I'll watch my World Cup." Okay? Just stay on your lane. Don't try and force me to watch that. I'm not going to try and force you to watch my thing. But the halftime shows are awful. Just cringe, man. Super cringe. They're always super political as well. They turn it into like a politics thing. I can't stand that. Archie, I'm going to convince you one day that American football is great. Definitely not bigger than football, but still a good sport. Yeah, look, I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying I don't want to watch it, okay? Just want to be very clear about that. But yeah, if I lose a bet, then maybe I'll do it as a forfeit. Maybe I'll go watch it as a forfeit. Spend how much is it for a ticket? Because the World Cup tickets are very high. I was looking at them. The tickets for the World Cup are insanely high. Yeah, look, I respect rugby. I respect rugby as a sport for sure. Rugby, UFC, boxing. I respect all of those. I mean, I respect any sport at the end of the day, but I just have my preferences, you know? I have my preferences. Super Bowl's $2,000 to watch. I was seeing tickets to the World Cup, man, and it was like 5K, I think, plus. It was like 5K plus or something to watch an England game. Soccer is boring. For me, it's not boring, but I can see how it can be boring. You know, I can see how it maybe can be. I mean, the very best sports, in my opinion, are combat sports because you can never say you're bored watching combat sports. But some football games can actually be boring. I'll give you that. When one team's super defensive and it's just there can be boring football games, you know. But there's not too often boring fights. I mean, there's always something that happens. Yeah, World Cup tickets are pennies for me. Yeah, but you still have to respect how things can be expensive, right? You know, it's important not to lose your sense of value in things. If you were to bring your whole family to the World Cup, you're probably talking like $50,000 or $30,000 to watch like 2 games, probably. It's depending on the size of your family, which is an awful lot of money, right? Yes, I can afford it, but that doesn't mean it's ridiculous and it's extortionate. Obviously, it's extortionate. Do I see myself getting into prediction markets? I've seen some crazy things with the prediction markets. I've seen people using AI to bet on those Bitcoin 5-minute up or down things. You see, there's the Poly market now has Bitcoin 5-minute up or down. You can bet on the 5-minute candle. I find that crazy. You can literally bet on the 5-minute candle on Bitcoin. And people are using AI to make money with this. They're using bots to bet on it. I don't know how it all works. I'm going to look into it, but I have heard numerous people use bots somehow to make a ton of money betting on Bitcoin on the 5-minute. Can't imagine the taxes on it. Yeah, if you're in a taxable country, then yeah, it kind of sucks. $2027 will be great for gaming coins, especially if there's a lot of hype from GTA whenever that comes out. I always forget because they keep postponing it. GTA 6 release. When is it? Very end of 26. So that's probably going to spill into 2027, that hype, right? I think people do sometimes over-egg the impact of GTA 6 on gaming coins. They make out as if it's going to like send them all to 10 billion market cap plus. But I think it could definitely act as a positive catalyst to an extent. To an extent. Depends on the state of crypto at the time, right? Depends on the kind of macro backdrop and how crypto is doing at the time. But if we are heading up and GTA drops at the same time, and there's a lot of retail interest in crypto again, then for sure it's going to act as a very positive catalyst for gaming. GTO says they exploit lagging prices on Polymarket and then they arbitrage it. That's interesting. Why are you bullish on Casper? Because it's a unique project, right? Like, I think diversification is key. Sorry about that. I think diversification is key in a crypto portfolio, and Casper adds this whole new element to your portfolio. The fact that it's a proof of work coin It's very decentralized. It's almost like a scalable version of Bitcoin, if you think about it, right? I'm not making a comparison to Bitcoin in terms of saying it will ever amount to Bitcoin's market cap, but I'm just saying that the core principles behind it are very much in line with something like Bitcoin, but on a more scalable trajectory. So I think it just adds this new dynamic in a portfolio that you can't get with many other coins, And let's face it, the Republicans aren't going to be in forever. So what's going to happen if the Democrats win the midterms and then the next election, the Democrats actually win? Yeah, I don't know the current. Let's check Polymarket for the next presidential election. Next US. Is there one for the... So Gavin Newsom is like, if you think about it, that's good odds. Like, there's a good chance Gavin Newsom wins the next election, and they haven't even done the primaries yet. So JD Vance 25%, Gavin Newsom 18%. It's pretty much neck and neck between those two. So it's just something to think about, that there's a solid chance that at some point the Democrats will control all areas of government, and therefore you might have someone similar to Gary Gensler back in again who might be against proof of stake cryptos and deem them all securities. And then if that happens, then you've got Casper as a good project to invest in, and Casper would probably thrive during that kind of administration. So it's just something to think about. Obviously, as of right now, we have a pro-crypto administration, but that's not going to be the case forever. And we know how politics works. Whatever one administration does, the other just comes in and removes a lot of it. So, yeah, I do think Casper is a coin with longevity, and it has that kind of added protection from potential governmental attack because of the fact that it is a clear commodity and it is clearly, proof of work and not a security. So yeah, that's the summary. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up the stream here. We've been live for over an hour. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Definitely sign up to an account with Blowfin. It's a great exchange. I use it personally. It's non-KYC as well, which is a huge benefit. You can use it anywhere in the world, and including the US. Just use a VPN and you'll be able to use it. Non-KYC, no passport required or anything like that, which is, to me, a huge perk with an exchange. You don't have to go through all that faff trying to set up the account. So the link's down below to Blowfin. And deposit some money. You could potentially win up to $5,000 using that link down below. Also, if you want to join the most active Discord community out there, daily voice chats, you could track my real-time buy and sell alerts and get a whole host of other benefits, then check out the VIP group link down below. There is a discount code available at checkout if you use the code BEARMARKET, all in one word. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the likes if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new with notifications on so you don't miss the next live stream. And I'll see you